Hey everyone, and welcome back again in Daily Tuition. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to create this beautiful under maintenance page with Tailwind CSS. Tailwind is one of the most useful CSS framework right now. In this tutorial, we are focusing on Tailwind animation. We will look at how to add keyframes and make CSS animation in Tailwind customization file. So let's get started and see how to first set up the Tailwind to create this amazing maintenance page. So as you can see here, I'm using Visual Studio Code to create this project. Inside this project, I have here a tutorial folder, and inside that I have the asset folder. Inside this asset folder, I have some asset. So here you can notice I have 3 images here. Inside the root folder, right here inside this tutorial, I'm going to create a new file and name it index.html. This is our main HTML file. Just after that, I'm going to open my terminal. Here I'm going to first select the tutorial folder, and I'm going to say here npm init-y. This command is actually going to initialize this folder as npm package. Once you've done that, you will get package.json file. Just after that, I want to install Tailwind CSS in this project. So I'm using npm node package manager to install the Tailwind package. So here I'm going to say npm node package manager I for install, and then I'm going to specify the package name Tailwind CSS. Along with Tailwind CSS, we're going to install Post CSS. Post CSS allows you to transform CSS code. Just after that, we also need Post CSS CLI. Post CSS CLI is a command line tool. Just after that, I'm going to install Auto Prefixer. Auto Prefixer is a package for adding prefix to your CSS. If you don't want to install Auto Prefixer, that's upon you. You can remove this package from this project. This package is optional. Let me press enter and install all these packages in this project. Once you have all these packages, if you open the package.json, here you can notice in the dependency section, you will get all your packages. Now, let me create a new file with the name Tailwind CSS. So here inside this root folder, I'm going to create a new folder and say source. And inside this source, I'm going to create a new file, tailwind.css. The extension of this file is .css. And now inside this Tailwind CSS file, I'm going to import Tailwind directives. So first I'm going to say add role Tailwind base directives. Then I'm going to duplicate this statement, and this time I'm going to import components. And then we're going to import utilities, just like this. A Tailwind use base directives to specify base styling to the HTML element. Inside Tailwind component directives, we have different Tailwind predefined CSS classes. And using Tailwind utilities, we can customize Tailwind CSS classes. Just after that, let me save this file. Now, let me show you how you can compile this file and create a standard CSS file. You can notice this is not a valid command in CSS. Tailwind use their own language and rules to create CSS. Now we need to compile these rules into a standard CSS. So to do that, we are using Post CSS. Post CSS is a JavaScript framework, allows you to transform the CSS code. Now what we are going to do is, inside the root directory, I'm going to create a new file with the name postcss.config.js. Make sure the name is exactly same. This is the configuration file of Post CSS. Inside this file, we're going to simply export the plugins. Here I'm going to say module.exports is equal to, and in this object, we're going to pass plugins like this in the array. Now here we pass plugins, which allows us to transform the CSS code. So we first require the Tailwind. So in the single quote, I'm going to say Tailwind CSS. Pass here comma and pass the second array. So I'm going to say here require. In the single quote, I'm going to pass auto prefixer. So we are telling the postman to use both these plugins to transform the code into CSS. Let me save this file. And now back to the package.json file. Here, you need to add a start command. So I'm going to just get rid of this test command and pass a double quote here. Inside this double quote, we can specify npm command. So for now, let's say here build CSS. You can specify any name to this key. That doesn't matter. Inside a double quote, so here I'm going to say post CSS, the package name, then specify the source folder. Inside that, as you know, we have tailwind.css file. And what we need to compile this file into CSS. So we're going to pass here -o for output, and then I'm going to store this file inside a dict folder. So I'm going to say here dict / and name this file tailwind.css. Now we are telling the Postman to use this Tailwind source file and transform it into standard CSS inside this dict folder. Let me save this file and execute this build command. To execute this build command, open your terminal. Let me first clear all the screen, and here you need to just specify npm run and pass your command build css. When I press enter, here inside my root directory I will have the dict folder. When I enter, you can notice Postman is going to create a new folder inside my root directory dict, and inside that we have Tailwind CSS. And inside this Tailwind CSS file, we have bunch of CSS code. So let me close this Tailwind CSS file back to the index.html and create here a simple exclamation mark and press enter. This will create a simple HTML5 snippet and say here under maintenance. Just out of that, I'm going to use a link tag to link the CSS file. So I'm going to say here dict, and inside that I have Tailwind CSS. So we just link the compile file of the CSS. That's it. Let me save the changes and back to the body. So here I'm going to say container h1 heading tag and specify Tailwind CSS. To this container, I'm going to specify bg gray 400. Let me save the changes and open this file in the live server. So I'm going to right click here and say open with live server. I already have this extension in my VS Code. If you don't have this extension, just click on this extension tab and search for live server. You have to just install this live server extension to get this option enabled. So just right click on index.html and click on open with live server. This is going to open a new window and you will have your index.html file in the browser. You can notice. Now let's create a beautiful maintenance page and then we'll add animation to it. So let me just toggle this window on the right side. I'm going to first create a new section inside this body. Here I'm going to create a new section, a section tag, and then specify some Tailwind classes. So here I'm going to first specify flex. This is going to specify display flex to this section, then specify flex wrap. Then I'm going to specify LG flex no wrap. Now let me explain this statement. What we are going to do is when the viewport is greater than the large size of devices, Tailwind is going to apply this class. Otherwise, apply this first class. Just for that, we're going to specify here justify center. This is going to specify flex justify center CSS property to this section. And then I'm going to specify h screen. This class is going to specify 100 viewport height to this section. Just for that, I'm going to specify here relative. This is going to specify position relative to this section. Now, once we have all these classes inside this section, here, I'm going to simply create a division tag. And inside this div, I'm going to add my h1 tag. Here, inside this h1, I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to simply copy some text and paste that here. I'm going to do the same for the paragraph. So I'm going to just add here a paragraph and add some text here. When I save the changes, you'll have the result something like this. Just for that, let me add some CSS Tailwind classes to this division tag. I'm going to specify class here and specify margin y auto. Then I'm going to specify text gray 200. Then I'm going to specify text center to center the text. And then I'm going to specify here LG text left. So this class is only going to apply when the viewport is large. Otherwise, Tailwind is going to apply this first class. Let me save these changes. And to this h1 heading tag, let me add some Tailwind classes. So here I'm going to add a class. I'm going to specify font medium. This will specify font width to this h1 heading tag. Then I'm going to specify text 5XL. This will specify font size to this h1 heading tag. And then I'm going to specify padding y 3. This is going to specify top and bottom padding to this h1 heading tag, like this. To this paragraph, I'm going to specify some classes. So I'm going to specify here class, and here I'm going to specify LG width is going to be 5 -6. This means I want to specify 83% width to this paragraph. In Tailwind, you will get different width classes. You can find more about Tailwind CSS classes in the Tailwind documentation. I have a complete course on Tailwind. You can find that course from the top right corner of the screen or from the description. So Tailwind is going to specify this class only when the viewport is for large size of devices. And now what I want to put this section inside this container. Right now, you can notice I have some space to the right side of this container. So what I want to center this container. So I'm going to simply add here a class called mxAuto. This is going to center this container. You can notice. Just for that, inside this container, I'm going to put this section. So I'm going to grab this and put this section inside this container like this. Save this file. And now I'm going to have the result something like this. Just out of this paragraph, right down here, I'm going to add here input text box. So I'm going to add here a div, and inside that I'm going to add input text box of the type text. And to this input text box, I'm going to pass placeholder your email address. Just out of that, here I'm going to add a button with the text notify me. Let me save these changes. And here you can notice I'm going to have this input text box and a button. Just out of that, let me add some CSS classes to this input text box. So I'm going to pass here a class, and I'm going to specify here border 0. I'm going to remove all the border from the input text box and specify flex grow. This class is going to allow this input text box to take the maximum width of this division tag. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here some Tailwind classes to this div. Let me add some color to this division tag. Here I'm going to add bg gray 50. This is going to specify white color to this division tag, just like this. You can notice. Then I'm going to specify padding 3. After that, I'm going to specify padding x5. Then I'm going to specify sm with 96. This is going to specify 24 rem width to this division tag only when the viewport is greater than small size of devices. Just for that, here I'm going to specify a class called roundedMD. RoundedMD class is going to specify some border radius to this input text box. Just after that, I'm going to specify margin y 8. This will specify top and bottom margin. Then specify margin x auto, and then specify LG MX0. So this class is only going to apply when the viewport is for large devices. Just for that, I'm going to add here flex. Let me save these changes, and I'm going to have the result something like this. To this button, I'm going to specify some classes. So I'm going to add here text gray 500. This will specify text color to this button. Then I'm going to specify hover text red 400. This is going to create hover effect on this button. You can notice. And now just after that, just down here, I'm going to add my images. So here I'm going to create a new division tag with the class margin y auto. And inside this, I'm going to add my images. So first, let me specify some classes here. Text center to center all the text. Width is going to be 3 by 4. This will specify 75% width to this division tag. Then I'm going to specify LG width is going to be 2 by 5. That's it. Just out of that, inside this div, here I'm going to add image tag, and I'm going to specify my image in the source. So I'm going to select asset folder, and inside that I have my images. So I'm going to first select this img1, specify alt image 1, save these changes. Here I'm going to have my image. Just after that, let me duplicate this statement and specify the second image here. So I'm going to select the asset folder and then select image2.png and specify alt image2, and this became image 3. I'm going to specify here source image 3. Let me save these changes. And now I'm going to have the result something like this. Now I wanted to add some custom CSS classes to this web page and add my own keyframes to create CSS animation. Now let me add my own CSS classes inside the Tailwind. So what we need to do is we need to customize the Tailwind configuration file. So I'm going to just open a terminal, and here I'm going to just execute a command called npx tailwind css, and then I'm going to specify here init. When I press enter, you will notice Tailwind is going to create a new file inside the root directory. You can notice here we have here tailwind config.js file. This is the default configuration file of Tailwind. Let me open it, and here is the default configuration code of Tailwind. Using this file, you can extend the feature of Tailwind CSS, or you can say you can customize the Tailwind. Here we have different keys. So let me first show you how you can add your own font family inside Tailwind. So I'm going to open a new tab and search for Google font. And from this website, I'm going to select Poppins font. And then I'm going to select the regular style of this popping font. And then I'm going to import this URL inside my Tailwind CSS file at the top, just like this. So I can use the Poppins font family inside my project. Let me save these changes back to the Tailwind configuration file. And here I'm going to simply say font family. This is a key. And then I'm going to specify here object. Just after that, I'm going to specify here Poppins, the key name. And in the array, I'm going to specify font family, Poppins. And the fallback value of this font is sans serif. Let me save the changes. And now what you need to do is you need to execute the npm run build command again. Now, if you don't want to run this command again and again, you can just simply pass -w to the start command like this. You can add a watch flag to this build statement. When you specify that, you don't have to repeat this npm run build css command. That's it. Whenever you make any changes inside the Tailwind file, this command is automatically going to recompile your CSS. So I'm going to just execute this command. Let me save this file back to the Tailwind configuration file and save it. Now I'm going to have this key with this font family. Let me show you. Let me back to my project and back to the index.html. Now I can access my font family with a class name font Poppins. So here I'm going to specify font Poppins. Let me save the changes. You can notice I'm going to have the font Poppins font family to this text. That's easy, right? Now let me get rid of this gray color from this container background. And here I'm going to add a gradient color. So inside my Tailwind CSS, here I'm going to create bg gradient class. So I'm going to create this class and pass gradient color to it. I'm going to grab this code from UI Gradient website and paste that here. You can just head on to uigradient.com and search for your favorite gradient. Just click on this get CSS. Copy this CSS code and paste it inside your CSS file. Let me save this, copy this class and pass that to this body. Here I'm going to specify class and specify bg gradient. When I save the changes, this is going to specify this gradient color to this background. Now let me specify some classes to this images. Here to this first image, I'm going to specify class rounded full. Save this file. As you can see, I'm going to have this type of result. This will specify border radius to this image. Then I'm going to specify image1. This is a custom class. And to this second image, I'm going to specify class img image2. And this became image3. That's it. Let me save these changes back to the Tailwind CSS file and let me access all these classes. So I'm going to back to my custom CSS and here I'm going to simply add image2 and specify position absolute. Top is going to be -110 pixel and left is going to be -400 pixel. Now that's upon you. You can specify your own values here. Just out of that, I'm going to specify width to this image 20%. Save this file. You can see you're going to have your image here, and then I'm going to specify opacity to it. Opacity is going to be 0.50. Save this file, and this will specify opacity to this image. Just after that, I'm going to copy this class, paste it down here, and this is the image 3, and I'm going to change some values here. Top is going to be 0, left is going to be 200, width is going to be 50%, and opacity is going to be 0.30. Save this file. As you can see, you're going to have the result something like this. Now I want to specify z index to this image. So I'm going to specify here z index minus 99. Save the changes, and now you will have the result something like this. Now what I want to vertically center this content. So let me just back to the index file. I think I misspelled something here. Yeah, I just misspelled this class name. This is h-screen. I used to do this type of mistake. Let me save this file. When I save it, you can see my text is now vertically centered. Now let me add animation to these images. So to add animation, I'm going to show you two different ways, with simple CSS and with Tailwind customization. So we're going to start with a simple CSS. As you know, to create animation in CSS, you use keyframes. So we're going to pass here @keyframes and the identifier. This is the identifier of the animation. I'm going to specify here move y, and inside it we pass different steps. So for 0%, I'm going to specify transform translate y is going to be 0 pixel. Duplicate this statement 2 times. For the 50%, this translate y property is going to be 25 pixel, and for the 100%, this translate property is going to be 0 pixel. That's it. Now what I want to apply this animation to this image. So to add this, I'm going to use this identifier and specify that to the image 1. So at the top here, I'm going to specify image 1, and here I'm going to specify animation property move y, specify the duration 4 seconds, and then specify infinite or initial value. Right now I'm going to specify infinite. Whenever I save the changes, you can notice I'm going to have animation to this image. You can change the duration of this animation according to your need. If you want, you can specify here 2 seconds. So this will just change the animation speed. So this is a very simple way you can create CSS animation. Now let me show you how you can create your own animation using Tailwind customization. So you just need to back to the Tailwind customization file, and inside this extend, here you need to add 2 different keys. So you need to first add here keyframe, and you also need to add animation, just like this. Inside keyframes, you pass these keyframes, and inside this animation, you pass this animation property. So inside this Tailwind keyframes right here, I'm going to simply first specify the identifier, which is move y, and then I'm going to specify colon and pass object. Inside this object, I'm going to specify different keys. So here I'm going to specify 0%, and then I'm going to specify colon and pass curly braces. Inside these curly braces, we need to pass value. You can notice here we have transform translate y 0 pixel. I'm going to copy that and pass that here. Now because this is a key, we need to pass this value inside single quote, just like this. So now to the 0%, we specify transform translate y 0 pixel, and to the 50%, you can notice I have this translate y 25 pixel. So I'm going to duplicate this statement like this, and this is for 50%. Translate y is going to be 25 pixel. Just out of that, you don't need to create 100% key. Instead, you can pass here a comma and pass 100%. That's it. This statement is equivalent to this statement. Let me save these changes, and now you need to access these keyframes inside this animation. So here I'm going to simply add move y and then pass in the single quote, move y 2 seconds, the animation speed, and specify infinite. Save this file, back to the Tailwind CSS, comment this code and this code. Right now, you don't have any animation to this image because you need to add your Tailwind CSS animation to this image. So just back to the index.html and to this image, to this first image. Here, you need to add animate hyphen move y. Save this file. That's it. Now you can notice you're going to have your beautiful animation to this image. Just after that, let me add this animation to both these images. So we need to create that keyframe. So inside this keyframe, here I'm going to pass comma and create my second keyframe. So to create my second keyframe, I'm going to specify first a key, which is rotate z colon, and inside this object, I'm going to pass keyframe. So I'm going to copy this statement, paste it here, and get rid of this 100%. This time, I'm going to specify rotate 0 degree. Duplicate this statement, and for the 100%, the rotate should be 360. That's it. Just for that, we need to add this inside animation as well. So we specify here rotate z, and then specify in the single quote rotate z 20 seconds infinite. That's it. Your animation is completely ready. Let me save this file, back to the index.html, and to this image, we're going to pass animate hyphen rotate z. Let me do the same for the second image as well. Copy this, paste it here. Oops, I think I misspelled something. Yeah, rotate z. Make sure the key name and this identifier is exactly same. Save this file, and now you can see you're going to have your animation. According to your need, you can change the background position of this first and this second image. So if you want, you can change this left to right. Save this file, and now you can see you're going to have the result something like this. And now let me show you this web page is responsive or not. If I inspect this and decrease the viewport, you can notice this website is completely responsive. This web page is completely responsive for all size of devices. So I hope you understand how to create your beautiful animation with Tailwind CSS. If you find anything useful, don't forget to press the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe for more latest videos. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.